Hey, how's it going, everybody? Sarasota Tim, coming to you from outside in the beautiful weather here in South Florida near the SRQ International Airport in Sarasota, Florida. And today's video is about lies, lies, lies. We have been lied to in this country literally about everything. And in 2025, more and more people are collecting Social Security because they have learned that it is a big lie that if you accept your Social Security any earlier than FRA, full retirement age, that you are taking a reduction. More and more people are finding that it is a big myth, that it is a BS lie, a con job. They don't want you to take Social Security. They don't want you to collect over $100,000 for 5 years and make you wait until you're either dead or almost dead or sick or something. They don't want to pay you if they don't have to. They've been lying to us about the health, our food. Everything is a big marketing tool. It's all about making money and saving money, fraud and abuse. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you are a boomer or you are becoming a boomer, a late boomer, and you're going to be collecting your Social Security, or you're eligible, which is the earliest age of 62. You know, a lot of people don't even know that. They're not even aware that you can get Social Security at 62. They hear about 65 because they hear that that's when Medicare starts. And then they hear about full retirement age because if you were to even contemplate taking it any earlier, you're getting a reduction. You're losing money. And you got to make sure you're covered for your retirement for all those years. Folks, it's all baloney. And I'm here to set it straight for you. I've done these videos numerous times, and I'll continue to make them until we've got everybody on board. And now what's happened in 2025, more people than ever in the history are collecting Social Security at age 62 for several reasons. One, millions have seen my videos. Two, people have seen other people making videos because, you know, when I made my first video about collecting at 62 and you get more money than you do if you wait, there was some pushback. But then when people started doing the math, they couldn't argue it. And so now you've got all these YouTubers out there all promoting get your Social Security at 62. And a lot of them get millions, hundreds of thousands of views doing just Social Security. So you're welcome. It was my niche there for a couple of videos, and then I just went on to making other things. My channel is not solely about Social Security, but that's really what put me on the map. And that's because what I explain is when I was 62, I'm 66 now, soon to be 67, I started thinking about Social Security a couple of years before I was going to get it. And so I started searching the internet like a lot of people do. What's it about? How much will I get? Is it better? How much more will I get if I wait? How long do I gotta wait? All these questions. And if you go to the Social Security .gov, the website, or you call the Social Security Administration, each time you call, you'll get a different answer from someone that even works at the Social Security Administration. Now, the website and what's in print is pretty much the gospel, but it's kind of hard to make sense out of a lot of it. There's spousal benefits. There's all kinds of survivor benefits. There's disability benefits. There's Social Security regular benefits like I get. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you've been working all your life, and I've always been an advocate that, you know, the average age used to be 73. I think I Googled it today and it's up to 76. Somewhere in the mid 70s is the average age for a male in the United States of America. That's it. Not 176, not 90, not 85. If you're one of those people, you're one of the blessed ones that, you know, really had the good genes or something. But people are absolutely dropping dead every day in their 40s and 50s and 60s, long before they even collect the first Social Security check. Then others, they wait until their full retirement age at 67, or they wait till 65 when they get Medicare, and then they get very sick or die. And the main thing is what you don't understand, some people don't understand, I'm sure you do, is that If the average age is 76 years old, 75, let's just call it, make an even number, mid-70s. That means that 37, 38 years old is your halfway point in your life. At 55 years old, some people are fortunate they can retire from a company that they've put enough time in and get a pension. But you can't get your Social Security until you're 62. So the idea of even waiting another year or a month or a day past that is silly, because I'm going to show you, you won't get any more money unless you live to be way, way past the average lifespan. And you know, nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. And that's the biggest thing in life. Not to mention, even if you did live to be in your 80s or 90s, have you seen people in their 80s and 90s? Have you seen how they move and what they do and how they talk? I see them every day. I'm here in South Florida, the home of geezers. And I'm a geezer myself now at 66. But folks, if you could only retire at 55, you're already so far past the halfway point of your life. No one's going to live to be 110. So it really should be 55. So to go any further past 62 when you're eligible to get a free check, these are sayings that I have. It's your money you paid in. Your free check for the rest of your life, deposited in your bank on one of the first 3 or the last 3 Wednesdays of each month, which is when they deposit it, at midnight. You wake up, surprise, $1,500, $2,000, somewhere in between is about the average, is what you'll have in your bank. And what you can do with that money is you can double it. You say, well, how's that? Well, if you quit your job, I call them prison jobs, because if you got to be there at a certain time in the morning and they allow you to go to lunch, but they say in an hour be back here, and then they let you go at a certain time in the afternoon, and then they say, but tomorrow morning be back here, that's a prison job. And whether you like your prison job, whether you make a lot of money at it or not, it's beside the point. You are giving your life, your time, to some company to get a check. Obviously, we have to do that. That's what we all do. But you don't want to do it any longer than you have to. And then, when you get to be 62 and you can get a Social Security check, now you have all kinds of options. One, and the most important one of all, is you're not 55 anymore, because you got to be 62. They're not going to change it. You're still at your youngest possible age to collect a free check at 62. That's the youngest you can be to get a Social Security check, not necessarily your pension or a retirement from a job that you started at when you were very young and you got out of there before 55. God bless you if you did. Now you're going to get 2 checks. But at 62, you are absolutely the youngest you'll ever be again in your life. And so to wait, and you say, well, what's a few more years? I get all this much extra money. False. BS. Right there, I'll call BS on it. Because number one, I always use this analogy. When you were 12 years old, if you can even remember, or think about your kid that's 12, and then you've raised your kids. Think about that same son or daughter at 17. 5 short years later. At 12 years old, your child, other than going to the bathroom by themselves and can feed themselves, they couldn't be out on their own. They couldn't drive, they couldn't marry, they couldn't do anything. They had to go to school. They required almost 100% care, oversight by you, the parent. They were just a child, could do nothing except, take a bath, change their own clothes, and eat without you having to put the spoon in their mouth. Other than that, it was required that you had to do everything for them. So, let me just tell you what happens at 5 years old. All right, hang on one second. Let me just pause this here. All right, I apologize for that. So, at 17 years old, when your child got to be 17, close to graduating school, not only were they able to work, drive a car, could even get married. I did. You can do a lot more things. You're a young adult. You're an adolescent. You're not an adult yet. You got to be 18. But at 17, you're a completely different person than you were at 12. So in 5 years, basically, you grew 100% almost with all that you're eligible to do and all your differences of what a 17-year-old can do. Well, you say, where are you going with this? Well, the same thing happens at 62. You know, we get to a point when we grow and become adults and fill out and mature and you look our best and everything like that. And then we start to do what they call an aging process where, you know, you start to get some gray hair. You start to walk a little bit slouched over. Your faculties are starting to slow up a little bit. You're definitely not as strong as you used to be. Maybe you can't even run anymore, much less walk good. You have a lot of things that have changed from when you were from 17 all the way up to 62, especially a lot of years earlier than that. But if you think about 62 to 67, a lot can change. This is when all those miles you've put on your body, all this food that they try to tell us is good for us, and through the marketing things with food coloring and dye and cancer causing agents and terrible carbohydrates and all these things that destroy your health. And you've been doing it for decades. Now you have a basic foundation to prepare to leave this world as a very sick person, either through some kind of disease, diabetes, kidney failure, or your joints start going out, your hips, your knees, your faculties, all these things, dementia, all these things start happening, of which are done by you consuming terrible food all your life and continuing to work, maybe in a laborious job, it's labor out in the sun, aging you and everything else. You know, not everything is an in the office job. A lot of people are out there, you know, digging ditches and building houses and stuff. And so at 62, when you finally have like reached the crescendo and a little bit past, especially past 55, that way over halfway point, which was really 38, remember? Because the average age is 75. So you're already 38, 48, 58, 62. You're over 2 decades past the halfway point. And you say, no, I'm gonna stay working in this job. I'm gonna stay not doing the things that I could be doing as a freer person without putting in 40 hours a week at a job and getting a free check. And I'm gonna start losing my looks, my strength, and my everything else that we just mentioned a little more for another 5 years to where I'm really basically a very older person, liking 3 years from being the age 70. And then you're gonna collect your Social Security because you know why? They told you with this big lie that you're gonna get more money. You will get a 30% reduction if you collect it at 62 versus waiting until your full retirement age. Well, let's get into the numbers now and let's just see what that's about. And keep in mind, everything that we just talked about is really the, as my friend used to say, the mainest thing, you know, is your health, that you're above ground, that you have energy. You know, I'm 66, gonna be 67, I can tell you. I'm working on it hard as I can right now. I just turned a new leaf in my life on concentrating on health after decades of abusing my body in other ways that we all have done. But I can definitely tell a difference between what I am now and what I was when I started collecting my Social Security at 62. I have a lot less motivation and desires to go off and do very aggressive, ambitious things. I'm a lot more cautious now because I'm worried that I'm fragile. You know, I'm older. I got to be careful. I got to save my money. I got to do all these things to watch out. And you start getting paranoid. All these things start happening to you as you age. But let's take a look at it, folks, right here. Okay, if you are age 62 and you collect your Social Security, you're 5 years younger than the full retirement age, which is basically 67 today if you're born after 1960. And in the first year of collecting your Social Security, you're not really limited to your income. You can still work. My birthday's in December. The only time that you have to worry about your income is if you collect your Social Security and your birthday, say in June, midway point of the year. You can make all the money you want at your job without worrying about the earnings cap okay, for 6 months. And then we got a plane coming. And then after that, you can't make more than, this year it's $23,400, I believe. Yeah, $23,400. So whatever that is divided by 12, and then that's how much money you can make maximum for the rest of the year. So you have an earnings limit. But remember, if you're getting $1,500 to $2,000 a month on your Social Security check, even at the age of 62, I get $1,800. And you can make pretty much the same amount, is about what it works out to, even a little bit more, each month. I mean, that's a game changer, especially if you don't have any debt. And this is the goal you want to get to when you're talking about collecting at 62 also. You're thinking, hey, I want to quit working. Well, then I don't need credit card debt. I don't need streaming services. I don't need car payments. I don't need any debts. I might not even need this McMansion I'm living in. Maybe I can just go with a condo or a villa. Maybe I should think about all that and change my life, because, you know, there's an old saying that less is more. And it's very true, because in 2025, a lot of people are discovering that, because things are so expensive that it kind of takes the fun out of it. If you want to have a big house or a $60,000 car or these kinds of things, with all that goes into doing it. Even taking a job requires money. Dry cleaning, food, lunches, gas, maintenance for your car to get you back and forth. All this come out of your paycheck every week. You got to think about that. So whatever you're making is really going to be a little less. Now, so if I start collecting my Social Security at 62 and I have a twin brother that he says, no, I'm going to wait till I'm 67, full retirement age. Well, the day he gets his first check, he gets 30% more. And using what I get, that would be equivalent to, I've got it right here, it would be $2,340 a month versus my $1,800. So on his first paycheck, he gets a whopping $2,340. But I've already collected $1,800 60 times for 5 years and have drawn in $108,000 in my pocket, plus working. And remember, the first year I was able to make all I want up until my first Social Security check comes in. And then the year I'm turning 67, like my brother's doing, I can make $62,000. It's 62 and change. I got it written on here somewhere. 62,160 is what it is this year. So I can make my Social Security plus an additional $62,160. Okay, so you've only got a very narrow window right there between the age of 62 and your full retirement age of 67 at watching your income. And then if you work for yourself, it's basically your adjusted gross income. You don't have to worry about how much you make, because you can write it down through your so your taxes and things. Okay, so now I'm $108,000 up on my Social Security, right? He's only gotten his first check. Now, over 60, I made $108,000. Now, if we go to age 75 or 76, because that's what the average age was that I heard today, and if we go to that, then that's 168 months of collecting Social Security that I will have collected. 168 months, giving me a total, let's say I die at the age of 76, I would have collected $302,400. And my twin brother that waited till full retirement age, he collected his first check at 67, and then he collected for another 108 months. I got 168 months. He got 108 months, and he died on the same day at 76. He collected only $252,720. I still collected at 76 years old, $49,680 more than he did by him waiting 5 more years, losing all of his last bit of whatever youth that he had, possibly the end of his good health before things could start happening, and he's 50 grand still behind me, and then he dies. and he left 50 grand on the table, and he worked 5 more years. All right, and then there's some other interesting statistics here, that, you know, if by every year that you wait, they talk about this 30% more you will get. Well, guess what? It's a big sugar on the end of a string to get you to wait. It's a big gimmick, because the 30% reduction that you get at 62, which is 70% of what your check would be at full retirement age, at 63, if you wait another year, you only get another 5%. And then if you wait till 64, you only get another 5%. So you're still taking a 20%, or getting only 10% more after 2 years, 10%. And with inflation and everything, what's that money going to be worth? Okay, and then at 65, when a lot of people like to take it, they give you an extra 6.67%. You get 5% more each year for the first 2 years, and then they go to 6.67%. And then at 66, you get an additional 6.7%. Yes. So you're going to be collecting 93.33% of what you would get if you wait till you're 67. So what does that mean? Let's just make it real easy math. Let's say that the full retirement age check was $1,000. I know, I'm just going to make it easy. $1,000. You take it at 62, 30% reduction, that leaves you $700. So you get $700, right? But if you wait till you're 63, you get $50 more. You get $750. You wait another whole year for $50. Okay, you go to 64, you get another $50. You're $800 a month. And then at 65, they go that extra 1.7%, 1.67%, and you get $866.70. And then at age 66, just 1 year before your full retirement age, you get $933.30. A whole $233 more money, you know, four years later. At 5 years, obviously at full retirement age, you'd get the whole grand. But you lost 60 grand, remember? Let's say that the check was going to be $1,000, full retirement age, and wait a minute, 7 times 6 is $42,000 that you just left on the table, and now you're up $300. It's going to take you like 16 years just to make that $49,000 back by waiting till your full retirement age and drawing checks. 16 years. So if you're 67, 77, it puts you well over 80 years old. It's beyond the average age of a male in America. So, I mean, you're really taking a chance. You might not ever, and likely not, see any more money. So the proof is right there in the math, that when you're 62 years old, you should absolutely collect your Social Security, because $23,400 and another, 20-something thousand I'm making on Social Security at $1,800 a month. I mean, that's $40-something thousand a year. American Airlines getting ready to take off. Let's take a look at it for a second. They use all these small planes today. No big ones anymore. They're all trying to save money. So that's the proof in the pudding there with the math. You can see that you're going to get more money. And to make $40-something thousand a year and have planned for collecting Social Security at 62 by not having all those debts that we talked about earlier in the video, then that's a game changer, because it's not how much you make, it's how much you got to spend out every month. And did you know that the average income, if you divide the average of every single person working in America, you know how much it is? $35,000 a year. I know there's people making $1 million a year. There's people making $150,000 a year. But the average income per person, Google it, is 35 grand. And the average median household income is $68,000 for 2 people. So to make $40-something thousand and not have a whole lot of debt, and to be living your best life, your best years, before something, takes you down with health, or you get hit by a bus, or who knows how you go out of here. But folks, collect your Social Security at 62 enjoy the rest of your life. Don't listen to the people on the internet or the government. You need to wait that you're going to get more money. It's a bunch of hogwash. You collected a 62 like I did. I have no regrets, and I'm crushing it.